final thoughts on maybe what you think Pope Francis's legacy will be. What do you think about kind of how this
Mm,
is going to unpack in this
yeah.
next week or so? And
Yeah.
people focus on the political side, but kind of what do you think is going to be?
Look, it's a mixed bag. On the one hand, to those who haven't been paying very close attention, to those outside the church, Pope Francis appeared, and this is a wonderful thing, he appeared to be a humble man who went out to those who were forgotten, to the poor, to the migrants, to prisoners, and people who felt ignored and far away from the church. That's fantastic. For those who are really paying attention internally, the Pope's record is a bit more checkered. He had a kind of hostility to formal ritual and tradition. He didn't like that. I mean, starting with what he wore. You look at his funeral rite; it's very bare bones. I mean, he's practically the coffin is practically on the floor. Okay, the last two popes, John Paul II's funeral, Benedict's funeral, there was a bier, which is kind of a platform that off the ground, so that they're eye level. So when you go kneel before them and pay your final respects, you can see them. He's on the floor, and he's on a little platform on the floor now of St. Peter's Basilica because he wanted simplicity. But the simplicity also, true simplicity is found in subjugating your personality to the office you hold. Pope
Mhm.
Benedict, whom I knew very well, was a
Mhm.
shy, humble, sweet, holy man, but he was not an outgoing public show dog. That wasn't in his personality at all. But when he became Pope, he put on the costume that he was to wear, put on the cassock, and he wore the red shoes, and he went out and he found within himself the uncomfortable having to go out to people and shake hands and wave and yeah, that was not part of his personality. But he
Mhm.
did it to rise to the office. That's humility.
Mhm.
That's humility. The other is bending the office to accommodate you. And I think at
Mm.
times Pope Francis did that. He didn't live in the apostolic palace. Our friends at CBS and ABC News say, oh, he's so holy, not like those other horrible people who lived in the palace. Well,
Hmm.
I went to that palace. I went and visited those popes in their private apartments. They literally had John Paul II and Benedict, a single bed, couple of bookshelves, a desk. That was their private room. And it was a drafty 15th century or 16th century building that
Mm.
didn't have working air conditioning and heating. It was hot in the summer, it was cold in the winter. Pope Benedict, one time I went in, he had a blanket over his shoulders. He's
Mm.
writing at the desk. I'm like, what are you doing? And so if I were given the chance, if I were given the choice, live in the apostolic palace or live in a hotel that was built in 1993, I'd
Mm.
take 1993 suite with the double bed and the marble bathtub too.
Oh,
That's where Pope
wow.
Francis. So just so people put that in perspective.
Yeah, those are like the actual details of it.
Yeah, the media gets a lot wrong. They get a lot wrong. They
Yeah.
don't know. They're drive-by. They drop in once every 10 years, and they're suddenly Vatican experts and conclave, mavens. They're not.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.